Welcome to Le Grand Voyage with Chateau Malartic-la-Gravière. A couple of years ago I was very lucky. I got to meet Anthony Barton. Now he's the owner of Chateau Léoval Barton and Chateau Langoa Barton, and he's one of the towering and much loved figures of the Bordeaux wine trade for the last 50 years or probably more. And yet interestingly, for such an important figure, he is not a Frenchman. Indeed, when you listen to him he sounds very much like an English country gentleman, but he's not an Englishman either. He's Irish and still has his Irish passport very proudly. And the history of the Irish in Bordeaux, indeed of Anthony's own family, dates centuries back, going right the way back to about 1690. 1690 was when there was the Battle of the Boyne, and 1691 you got the Treaty of Limerick. This was when William of Orange defeats the Catholic King James and the Protestant crown takes over Great Britain. Many of the Catholic soldiers who'd fought for King James decide to flee. They go and settle in Catholic France rather than stay there, and they were followed by other generations who left in the early part of the 18th century. They weren't short actually of boats to go on. Around that time, in the sort of early part of the 18th century, it was interesting, England would import maybe 1,000 tons of wine from Bordeaux. Scotland, a much smaller country, they were importing around 2,000 tons. But Ireland, again a small country, was taking in 4,000 tons of Bordeaux wine a year. But the ships didn't go back empty. They went back curiously loaded on the manifests with wild geese. This was a code. They weren't geese at all. They were men who were travelling to France, and in fact many of them then became mercenaries, which is why to this day we still use the term the wild geese to refer to mercenary fighters. Some of them settled down and decided to become initially wine merchants, much like Anthony's own family. If you owned an estate and died, it would be surrendered to the state rather than staying in your own family, so it was better to become a wine merchant and trade with families that you knew back in Ireland. Over time, though, many of these families did go and buy estates, like Anthony's, Léoval and Langoa Barton. There were also the various Lynches, so you got Lynch Barge, Lynch Moussas, Pontac Lynch, the Chateau Clark and Chateau Dillon, Chateau Kirwan, all come from Irish families. Chateau Félan-Ségur is felons, they're from Ireland, and other estates too. And those established links live on right the way through to this day. There are other countries with great links to Bordeaux, and we'll go and explore some more of those in other films. So make sure, whatever you do, come back and join us again for a few more tips and bits of history from Bordeaux with Chateau Malartic-la-Gravière. I'll see you next time, tomorrow.